Good evening and welcome everybody. My name is Peter Nolly, and as Chair of the Churchill Club, I'd like to welcome you all here tonight for the Top Tech Trends debate. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting. I pay my respects to the elders past and present and the Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be here today. We have a great evening lined up for you tonight, and I hope you enjoy the debate and the opportunity to network afterwards. To begin with, I'm going to keep this short, so I'm not going to tell you a lot of the history about the Churchill Club, because Gretchen will take over a bit later with a bit of the what's going on. But to start with, we're going to hear from the Honourable Tien Q, who is Member of Parliament, who's coming here tonight to help with the speech about how this is the final of the final event for the closing event for the Digital Innovation Festival. Please welcome Dr. Tien Q.
Thank you very much. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're gathering here today and pay respect to elder past and present. I also want to acknowledge Peter Noel, Chair of the Churchill Club, Australia, Gretchen Scott, our MC for tonight, and also the debaters for tonight, important event, Con Francesco, founder and managing director of Pencil, Penelope Barr, innovator and entrepreneur and technologist, Bianna Chow, executive director, investment management, Breakthrough Victoria, Professor David Grayden, chair of neuron engineering, Department of Biomedical Engineering, Faculty of Engineering and Information Technology, and the Graham Clark Institute for Biomedical Engineering. Also, Dr. Shannon Coney, lecturer of the University of Melbourne and assistant professor at the University of Pennsylvania. Good evening. I'm here today on my behalf and also to represent Minister the Honourable Chala Punfut, the Minister for Innovation, Medical Research and Digital Economy. She cannot be here tonight, but she sends her best wishes for a very successful event tonight. This is one of the final events. This is a final event of one of the many events that have been taking place over the past 2 weeks as part of our 2022 Digital Innovation Festival. It is so exciting for me. I'm so excited about the technology change that we are living in this world and this time now. We cannot imagine a world without technology. And the past 2 years particular has highlighted the importance of technology, talking about connecting across the world, across the internet, and that also raises the importance of cybersecurity. This is one of the topics I believe for debating tonight. About cybersecurity, myself been a professor of physics, and I have been very much interested in and also been working on quantum computer, which has been promising that cybersecurity, as we know now, will not be safe with the quantum computing, but that will be some time to come. At the moment, cybersecurity is very important for us, from the bank transaction, from the national security, and for our national sovereignty as well. We have 5 leaders tonight for the debate, and I have just mentioned their names. They will each share their vision for a new technology trend and aim to convince us the big impact it will have over the next 3 to 5 years to beyond. As a government of the Labour Victorian government, we are supporting the technology sector, listening to industry, and also supporting on the development on issues and trends and celebrating digital innovation. The global cybersecurity industry will play a very key role in future-proofing of our economy, our sovereignty, protecting business and our community. We as the government are committed to keeping Victoria at the forefront of digital innovation by supporting the development of new technologies and new industry that will drive economic growth and create jobs for future generations. As part of Victoria's cybersecurity and strategy, we are responding to the cybersecurity challenge by working to grow our cybersecurity industry and capabilities. Just recently, we are investing $10 million into the Cremorne Digital Hub to drive the development of our broad technology ecosystem. As late as last year, the Victorian government launched the Innovation Statement, which sets out our agenda to ensure Victoria is a leader in innovation, not just in our country, but also in the leading nation in the world. I would like now to thank the Churchill Club for presenting tonight's inspiring event and for your continued support of the tech industry. And I would like also to thank you all for being part of this year's Digital Innovation Festival. I look forward to hearing about the debate and learning a thing or more. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, TNQ. We are going to be inspired, and we are going to see and listen to some interesting trends. Gretchen Scott, you come up. Gretchen is our MC for tonight, but she's also a committee member who has worked tirelessly over the last 3 weeks, and before that too, to get this event up here to where we are and where we can start to have this debate. Gretchen also runs a business called the Tech Diversity Lab. So in addition to being an MC, she also has a day job. I'm going to hand over. Gretchen's going to explain the rules of the debate and introduce our debatees and hopefully keep them to the time limits. All right.
Thank you
very much, Gretchen.
So kia ora, ko Gretchen tuku ingoa, which is Māori for hello, my name is Gretchen. Tonight I'm going to be your tour guide as we kind of explore the top tech trends of the future. But firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. I come from New Zealand, clearly. No one else introduces themselves that way. And there's a saying there, ka mua ka muri, which means we walk backwards into the future. The past, the present, and the future are woven together. And as we look to the future and how technology shapes it for us all, I believe we should reflect upon the learnings and accomplishments of previous generations, particularly those here in Australia. So shortly, I'm going to welcome our panellists to the stage, and we'll begin hearing what they believe is going to be the next tech top trend. Then we, the whole audience, get to vote on which we believe is the most likely to be successful. Now, there's 2 criteria for this. One is the trend needs to not be obvious today, but it might well be in the future, and it needs to be explosive in 3 to 5 years' time. I'm going to keep reminding you of that because that's what we're voting on. But we wouldn't be here connecting, learning, thinking, and arguing without the support of the Victorian government and DIF. So thank you, particularly to Kelly Hutchinson, who I've lost over there, and to Kathy Coultis. Without you two, I don't think this would be coming together as it was. We very much appreciate you. Exactly a yay. Let's clap for that one. So this particular event, the Top Tech Trends Debate, is a closing event for the Emerging Technologies stream of the Digital and Innovation Festival. Thank you for having us and letting us be a little stage show at the end. We appreciate it. I'd also like to thank RSM, who are our prize sponsor this evening, and Starwood, who have given us the whiskey, and Melbourne Connect for providing the wonderful event space and catering. I've heard only good things about the food so far. But now, we're almost ready to get started. I'm going to introduce each of our panelists onto the stage. And once everyone is up, they get 3 minutes to tell you what their top tech trend is. At the end of their 3 minutes, the rest of the panelists will be voting with, because this is a tech event, ping pong bats. We're fancy. So if the seated panelists believe that that's going to be the next top trend, they turn it green. If they think no, it goes red. Then they each get a minute to justify their decision. At the end of those 4 minutes, the original presenter gets to fight. They get 1 more minute to argue back and defend their position. So that's the format. Once we've been through everyone and handed out an amazing trophy, then we get to network. No, actually, we have to vote first, but then we get to network and socialise. So, first to the stage this evening, I would like to introduce Con Francescos. Con is the world's leading digital marketing strategist. The world's best, is what I've heard. With over 30 years of experience building magical digital products. He's been growing digital businesses, advising startups, scale-ups, enterprises, and governments on how they might innovate, invest, and grow in the digital era. He's the founder and managing director of Penso, which is a visionary digital strategy consultancy. He's a founding director of LaunchVic and on the advisory board of the Swinburne University Technology Innovation Precinct. I don't know how he got time to write his 3-minute pitch, to be honest. He's also an investor and advisor to early-stage B2B SaaS startups, so I'm going to be hitting him up later. Welcome to the stage, Con, and Toby, can you hand out the ping pong bats? Sorry, I should have been more graceful. We are clearly about technology. Next up, Penelope Barr. Penelope is a globally recognised award-winning innovator. She's an entrepreneur, a technologist, and also an author. Her work has been recognised with Innovation and Technology Awards in 5 different countries. She's got an exciting track record in helping organisations solve those kind of messy 21st century problems that no one really likes. She has over 20 years of experience in global digital and technology roles. She's great at building products. She leads teams and manages large transformations without it even seeming like an issue. And this means that if you get a chance to talk to Penelope, she brings a vast wealth of experience to any conversation about any topic. So hit her up at the end of this too. Thank you for joining us. Come up to the stage. Also, you don't get to take those home. So next up, I'd like to introduce Professor David Grayden. Turns out he knows someone from Christchurch when I was at uni, so I feel like he's a friend. The world is small. David is Clifford Chair of Neural Engineering in the Department of Biomedical Engineering, Faculty of Engineering and Information Technology, and the Graham Clark Institute for Biomedical Engineering. And I'm sorry I had to read that verbatim, I just couldn't hold on to the pieces. David's main research interests are in understanding how the brain processes information and how best to present the information to the brain using medical bionics, such as a bionic eye or ear, and how to record information from the brain for brain-machine interfaces. I love this. He's also conducting research into epileptic seizure prediction and electrical stimulation to prevent or stop epileptic seizures. He teaches biodesign innovation in collaboration with the Melbourne Business School. Welcome to the stage. Next up, we have Bianna Chow, a return speaker. We're yet to determine whether this is an unfair advantage and if we should penalise her or not. This seems fair. Bianna is the Executive Director of Investment Management at Breakthrough Victoria, which manages the Victorian Government's $2 billion Breakthrough Victoria Fund. Breakthrough Victoria invests in emerging technologies to uplift Victoria's innovation ecosystem and deliver impact returns. She's an international strategist, technologist, and investment professional with experience from multinational corporations and deep tech startup investments. Bianna has led Bosch's, I always say that wrong, Bosch, I've got a friend called Bosch, so I rename everything, her corporate strategy for Asia Pacific, established Robert Bosch Venture Capital and mentored startup founders. Biena holds a Master of Applied Cybernetics, is a CFA charter holder and co-founder of Ada's Tribe, which is an inclusive community to support women in analytics, data science, and AI. Come to the stage and grab your ping pong bat. And our final panellist is Shannon Coney. He's a lecturer at the University of Melbourne, a visiting assistant professor at the University of Pennsylvania, and his research area is the intersection of computer security and law, where he focuses on technology to create products for customers and businesses. Shannon's past experience includes placements in cybersecurity as a cybersecurity fellow in the office of US Senator Ron Wyden and in the Office of Policy Planning at the Federal Trade Commission. His work has received multiple awards, both from research and industry. He holds a PhD and a Master's in Law from the University of Pennsylvania and completed a postdoctoral fellowship at Princeton University. Shannon, come on up and get your bat. Oh, this is what's coming up soon. So thank you all for being here. To reiterate the rules of engagement, each panellist gets 3 minutes. They then get attacked for a minute or 4 minutes. And there is 1 more minute for them to rebut and defend their honour. I'm going to be brutal with the timing and just say stop. I won't be graceful, it'll be awkward, it'll be weird, but we'll be on time for the networking at the end. Once the entire panel has gone through, as an audience, we will all vote using Slido. When the voting is collated, we'll present our 2022 Top Tech Trend Award, and then we get to socialise or run home and put Ugg boots on because it's kind of weird being out still. But first up to the stage, we have Con with his trend of closer to the couch.
Thank you very much, Gretchen. Does my time start? Has it started?
Now.
Right. Hi, everyone. Closer to the couch. I used to work in the music industry, and those of you who are old enough will remember the old days. You'd hear a song, you'd then go to your local, Sanity, Brashes, JB Hi-Fi, you'd say to the person behind the counter, hey, I heard this song, here's the lyric. And you kind of try and embarrass yourself and hum it, and then they'd say, yeah, great, no, we know the song. We had 3 in stock, we think we've got them in stock. We've sold out, we'll put it on back order, come back in 2 weeks. That's a pretty dreadful user experience, but something that we all live with, and the music industry still survived and thrived despite that. Now, at any given time, we can hold up our phones, hear something, and we can, play it or have it on the couch, on the go, on the street, wherever we like. Same thing with cinemas. Not saying cinemas aren't great, and I've seen Top Gun Maverick 3 times in the cinemas so far, but there's also something really nice about being able to sit on your couch and have, whether it be Disney Plus, Netflix or whatever, right there. What I'm talking about is that these are 2 industries that were 2 of the first ones to migrate closer to the couch. And my trend, closer to the couch, suggests that every single industry will in some way, shape or form succeed by moving closer to the couch. I'm going to give you a few examples until Gretchen very politely tells me to get off the stage. Again, some of those obvious examples that we look at aren't necessarily a surprise to many of you, but there will be a range of others where we're seeing kind of green buds of evidence that this is happening. One of them that is probably the most interesting is the idea that illness, medicine, when we get sick, we often present to a doctor's surgery after we're symptomatic. The doctor then kind of gives us, pulls out a 200-year-old device called a thermometer and takes our temperature, and maybe pulls out a 200-year-old device called a blood pressure and measures that, takes a couple of data points, and then maybe has the prognosis, diagnosis all mixed in one based on a few very basic data points after we're sick, and then prescribes a treatment. Now, what close to the couch means is the idea that we've got Apple Watches, we've got devices that will track us on an ongoing basis and build longitudinal data while we're sitting on the couch and potentially track those changes in our body and track those things and preemptively potentially say to us, hey, by the way, we've noticed some changes, why don't you deal with it? In the same way that we might see things coming close to the couch in terms of the way in which we consume food. Now, Obviously, we're all home gardeners during lockdown. We've all seen that. But what we're talking about is the idea that we might have devices that might actually help us, and Pernod Ricard are doing this at the moment, make cocktails on our bench. Where robotics and technology might allow us to actually have not just a Thermomix, but ovens that might actually do most of the cooking for us. Again, instead of having to go out to restaurants to have the best food that we could have, the idea that these things might be moving closer to our couch.
Turn it on silent. Your time's up.
Thank you.
Closer to the couch. Rest of the panel, show us your ping pong paddle. Is this going to be a trend that takes off? Ooh. Who's deciding? Penelope, yes or no?
I think no.
Give us your minutes reasoning. No pressure.
From a health perspective, as a heart failure person who was wrongly diagnosed for 7 years, because people were diagnosing me over video, I was presenting at a range of things, and I was wrongly diagnosed with a range of different data points. I think that medicine at a distance still has a way to go. So I think that some of your points were valid. However, that experience that we've lost over the last couple of years really does leave us with some loopholes in terms of that opportunity for us to really get into the nitty-gritty of some of those real opportunities that we miss. But I think that overall, you made a solid case.
So close, but no cigar. David.
I would say yes, because I can give a counterexample. That there is a company actually in this building called Sear Medical, and they have taken what used to require a week's hospital stay with a waiting list usually of 12 to 18 months to get in, to monitor somebody's EEG to see whether or not they have epilepsy. And they've taken that, reduced it, put it on the person, and allowed them to go home and do it for the week. So completely at home, they have a video camera there to film them literally on their couch. And it has revolutionized the industry. So Sear now do each week, they do 3 times as many monitorings as all the hospitals in Australia put together. And they also have found that the waiting list, they're mostly in Melbourne, but the waiting list in Melbourne has dropped from up to 18 months down to 1 day.
Oh.
So I think that is definitely a trend for the future.
Deanna agreed with you as well, I think. Did you?
I agreed with that. I disagreed with the trend being a top tech trend, because I think exactly piggybacking from David's example, I think it's already here with examples like Sear, which happens to be something that Breakthrough Victoria's invested in. So we've actually seen it, that people can be measured and monitored while they sit on the couch and have this really accurate diagnosis take place. But the reason I disagree is not because it's not powerful. I think it's already here.
Oh, good call. How about you, Shannon?
I was a green bat, but I think the branding's wrong. I don't think it's close from the couch. I think it's further from the workplace. So we do have this trend where stuff is getting more portable, stuff is getting easier to use. We don't need to be spending time at our desks, but it's not necessarily at the couch. It might be close to the beach. So we see these things, kind of a coalescence of a whole bunch of different trends. So you have miniaturization, you have increased battery storage capabilities, and all these things together, increased computing power, the battery, the portability, all of this together means that we're no longer going to be tied to physical cables where we plug ourselves into the wall. We can take that cable off, get on the couch, get to the beach, and do the same things that we were doing before. And I think this is the trend, that we're going to be losing this element of being tethered to physical location in the way that we were before.
Oh, this is exciting. Con, you get a minute. Do you want to do it from your seat, or do you want to stand back up?
Absolutely happy to do it from my seat. Firstly, it sounds like a pretty awful experience being misdiagnosed for 7 years, but that was the past. Let's hope that the future of being closer to the couch is that these misdiagnoses don't occur. So that's what I'd say in that regard. In the future, let's be optimistic and hopeful that
I'm incredibly optimistic.
sadly these things wouldn't occur. And secondly, agreed. This is this is something that we are seeing these green shoots. We are seeing certain areas like SEER, which is a wonderful example. We are seeing it from pitch to couch if we look at it from a sports perspective. However, if we look at the incumbent investment in hospital infrastructure versus, for example, distributed infrastructure, we are still way almost before the start line. So agreed, but I think that the mix of where we might have once gone to our workplace and now we're working from homes, or we might have once gone to hospitals, where all of those investments are in these kind of central hubs, we'll see, I guess in support of your comment, mass decentralisation close to the couch. So I think we are way at the beginning of this particular process, and I think it's not so much here. I think, yes, there's evidence that it's here. There are things that are happening here, but largely we have so much further to go, and it's only really affecting certain industries.
Oh, good rebuttal. Thank you kindly. Next up to the stage, we have Penelope Barr. She's going to fight for some wild things and say some words I never thought were going to come out of her mouth.
I'm not sure that that's going to happen, but let's see. Okay, so for one night only, I am actually here for the adulterers, organised crime and problem gamblers. But more importantly, I'm here for the poor, minorities and the opportunity to eat a second Bunnings sausage without being facially recognised. So the tech trend I'm here to explore is the increasing demand for privacy, the David and Goliath battle between users and technology companies, or privacy invaders. How did it get so bad? Because a bunch of technology companies realised they could make scads of dollars from advertising. They just need to know every single thing about us. Some people have invited Alexa and Nest Home, enabling 24/7 audio surveillance. Surveillance isn't safety. It's the internet's business model for two reasons. People love free and they love convenience. This surveillance is invisible, so we don't even think about it. Most of us have traded away copies of our identities for free email. Thanks, Google. The poorer you are, the more data you need to trade to access services. Hello, Robodebt. We know there's blood on the floor and $1 billion in fines because of Robodebt's poor algorithm. It used to be only governments had such detailed data on citizens. Now, private NDIS providers, for example, who are not bound by the same rules, could sell and use this data any way they like. Every aspect of our lives can be sold. Domestic violence victims have had Apple AirTags applied on their cars without their knowledge. And hey, stalkers amongst us, not here, amongst us out there, can buy off-the-shelf software to support their terror campaigns. They don't even need to leave the couch. If we want to stop killing 6 women a week, we need to stop assuming that technology is a universal good. Given this, some people say, haven't we already given away our privacy? Well, no. All of us here remain the holders of our private data. Your wallet is still closed, your mobile phones are locked, and as of now, my password isn't stuck on my computer screen. When our privacy is violated, we have a strong sense that something is not right. We recently banded together and acted to make some changes in facial recognition in retail and also potentially for problem gambling. When Facebook Messenger recently recorded an American teenager's questions with her mother about abortion and handed that to police, it taught us our expectations of privacy may not be met. 500,000 users lost and $10 million in revenue this year is the consequence. In the same way, little children's fingers are better for work in factories, but we send them to school. We shouldn't encourage invasions of privacy because it means more money for technology companies. So what can you do?
Cut you off
Oh.
before we have a solution.
Okay.
Time is up.
Cool.
Grab a seat. So, I never thought I would hear you say. I'm still processing, is what I'm saying. If all the panellists, except for Penelope, would like to vote with their ping pong bats, let's see where we sit. Oh, okay, Con, tell us why not.
I would have loved to have heard the solution. Sorry.
Might get the chance
I
to.
think I'll let you rebut. I think the setup was very good, but I think we're actually beyond that with surveillance capitalism and the kind of railing against that through a range of things, whether it be GDPR all the way through to millions of other solutions. I think I completely agree with everything you've said, but I think that's been acknowledged. I think we're moving beyond that, and I think even Web3 is evidence that we are now trying to take that back to a certain degree. So maybe that's what you were going to say in the rebuttal, but maybe I'll let you take that on.
Can't believe we brought up Web3. Okay, David, over to you.
Oh, I was actually going to say the same as Con. I think it was a really good lead up, and I think you covered it really well, but I'm not exactly sure what you were going to say next. What is the solution? So what is the top tech trend?
I was brutal with the timing. Vienna, how about you?
I'm going to leverage what Con said before, that this is just the green shoots of the trend. That there is some fights, but it hasn't really begun yet.
Shannon.
So I also voted no. And my reasoning is I think the solution is the trend, and I'll hopefully speak about that a little soon.
This is like when you pull the cake out of the oven, and here's one I prepared earlier.
I agree with the problem. I think it's a problem that we've seen over the last decade, and I see a solution on the horizon that we'll get to very soon.
So Penelope, a minute perhaps for a rebuttal or your solution.
I'm interested to see your solution. But I think, privacy is a value to be preserved. And I think, in the end, we'll get the privacy that we as a society demand and not a bit more. So I think it's up to us to really control our social media. It's highly extractive. TikTok, takes every keystroke and does with it what it will. If you're making or buying technology, I really would recommend that you try not to be the villain in a sci-fi film. I don't want to be Sarah Connor, and I don't want you to be the person who greenlights Skynet. I want people to really be custodians of their own privacy. And I think, we are at the green shoots, but I think that, at the moment we're just blindly bouncing through our day-to-day. And our rights are being taken from us, but we can actually make a change. And I think that this is a trend because it's living now and it's going to really impact us. It impacts us today and it's really going to impact us tomorrow. So thank you for the thoughts, panel, but I'm going to disagree. I think this is really the top trend that we are really facing into and we're blindly facing into it. So get onto it, people.
Well done.
So fight for your privacy. Thanks, Penelope. Next up on the stage, David with electroceuticals, which he had to explain to me in little words.
Think pharmaceuticals, but not. Okay.
I'm with you now.
All right. So medical bionics, you've heard is what I do, but they've been developed for interacting with the nervous system. Pacemakers control irregular heart rhythm, and there's over 4 million implanted worldwide, around 600,000 implanted every year. Cochlear implants, or the bionic ear, provides hearing to people who've lost their hearing, and there's over 800,000 that have been implanted, and Australia leads the way in cochlear implant development. Retinal implants provide vision to those who have lost their vision. And they're still in the early stages, but now there's a few companies, including one here in Australia, that are looking to commercialize devices. Deep brain stimulators treat people who have Parkinson's disease. It removes tremor. Also, it can be used to suppress epileptic seizures through what's called responsive neural stimulation. And spinal cord stimulators. They can treat people who have lost limb use or to rehabilitate people from stroke and spinal cord injury. So all these devices treat conditions that relate to the nervous system, and they're obvious targets for where we would want to use them. And they've all had an amazing impact on the lives of people who've received them. But what if bionic devices could treat more diseases than just the nervous system? Those that aren't directly related. Well, the future is going to bring explosive growth in devices that are looking at new targets of therapy. And Melbourne is leading the way in many of these applications. These treatments are called electroceuticals, or electric medicine. We've recently found that electrical stimulation of the vagus nerve can be used to reduce inflammation and control inflammatory bowel disease, or Crohn's disease. This is a condition that doesn't have a cure, terribly debilitating, and affects around 7 million people worldwide. And we're about to start a clinical trial with this device at the Austin Hospital. Similar devices are under development for reducing inflammation in rheumatoid arthritis, lowering blood sugar level in type 2 diabetes, treating heart disease, reducing high blood pressure, treating obesity, eliminating chronic nausea, and treating bladder dysfunction. Research and development, which is what I like to do, is looking to understand the neural pathways so we know how best to interact with them, developing new devices that are really easy to implant, so they could be done in a day procedure, and developing closed-loop algorithms so the devices can tune themselves to the body. Melbourne leads the world in the development of medical bionic devices with key roles in the pacemaker, bionic ear, bionic eye, and now the vagus nerve stimulation. And a new electroceutical device, I'm sure, will be on the market in 4 to 5 years. So keep an eye on this space. There'll be plenty of them coming.
Amazing timing as well. Grab a seat. Wow. See, I did learn a new word, electroceuticals. Makes much more sense now. How would you like to vote, dear panel? People were making up minds. There's a lot of green. Good call. Con, explain yourself.
One of my kind of favourite quotes that I apply in lots of scenarios is, it takes no great knowledge of, in this instance, medicine, to understand the immediate effects of a particular remedy, but it takes a lot more to understand the dynamic, future or unintended effects of this remedy. What might be some of the, hypothesised or unintended effects of electroceuticals?
Ooh, good question. You took Penelope's words, but Penelope, why were you a yes?
I was a yes, but I was also going to be asking about what, this all sounds wonderful and beautiful and sign me up, but what could go wrong? So that's what I'm interested in. Yep. I'm an optimist, but when it comes to medical devices and implants and those sort of things, I'm
Oh, pieces of fear. Vienna, how about you?
I'm being optimistic that this will come about in 3 to 5 years. From observation, things tend to take longer to come to market. So that would be the only reservation. Apart from it's a sensitive technology that needs to be treated with care. So there's a lot of the ethics that need to be built into that.
Great points. How about you, Shannon?
While we're on the topic of ethics, if you need a test monkey, I'll raise my hand. It sounds great. But I think a few of the things that make me really excited about this trend in the near future are the extent to which we're learning more about biocompatibility, so our ability to integrate foreign materials into the human body, and also the extent to which we're really learning a lot about the immune system. And those things are going to combine, I think, to give us some real potential in your area. And so I'm very much looking forward to see what happens, even if it doesn't rely on me on a stretcher.
Is it an episode of Black Mirror we're looking at?
Yeah.
Oh, scandal.
So this question around side effects is a very good one. But I mean, what pharmaceutical doesn't have a side effect? And so any pharmaceutical where you take too much is likely to lead to problems. Sometimes we just accept the problems that a pharmaceutical gives. So I think electroceuticals similar. Deep brain stimulation, for instance, if you don't get it quite right and stimulate too much, can lead to strange behaviors like gambling addictions and so on. So
is that the vagus nerve you were talking about?
No, that's the deep brain.
Oh, right.
If you stimulate the vagus nerve, you will affect breathing in the heart, your heart rate.
Right.
So what our group is looking at doing is putting it down lower so you don't do that. But I think that the last research area I talked about was this closed loop control. And I think that that's going to be crucial to ensure that we can minimize the side effects by having the device itself detect if those side effects are occurring and adjust its stimulation.
Thanks, David. That's really exciting. And I think our first all 4 green bats. 5. Can't vote for yourself. We talked about this. Next up on stage, we have Vienna, and she's going to talk about diplomacy 4.0, the rise of tech diplomacy.
Okay. It is wonderful to join you all again at the Top Tech Trends event. and it's been a long time since we've done it in person, and a lot has changed. Apart from the pandemic, the geopolitical climate has changed dramatically, which leads into my trend about diplomacy 4.0 and the rise of tech diplomacy. Tech diplomacy is a form of soft diplomacy, and traditionally these are things like foreign aid, education, health, disaster relief. But now with the topics of resilience, sovereignty, security, and climate change at the top of nations' agendas, tech is now clearly in focus. Tech has become a tool and a forum for diplomacy, and diplomacy is expanding beyond nation states to include the tech giants. They not only have a seat at the table, they're sponsoring the table. JFK, so John F. Kennedy, said that in a time of turbulence and change, it is true more than ever that knowledge is power. Tech diplomacy is all about the sharing and denying of knowledge, of advanced technical knowledge. So this leads to two states, one of cooperation and one of competition. Either of them accelerate the speed of technology development, both of them together, and we're heading for warp speed. One example is vaccine development. This is where lots of countries collaborated together. This was done in record time. These vaccines, for example, were also used as a tool for Australia of diplomacy in the Pacific to support and build relationships. So for Australian companies in Australia, there is the opportunity to support our neighbours in the Pacific and in the region, but also we are welcome to expand with our technology. We've always struggled to jump outside of Australia, but now we have many partners with welcome arms. And the focus specifically for many nations is on emerging and critical technologies, clean tech and health. We're talking about AI, automation, cybersecurity, quantum computing, semiconductors, biotechnology, but also the critical infrastructure and supply chain required and talent. This top tech trend is overarching for technologies, and it's just the beginning. The foundations are only being laid. We have the examples of multilateral, trilateral and bilateral relationships, of the Quad, of AUKUS, and yesterday the Australia-India Leadership Dialogue was held, sponsored by Atlassian, co-chaired by former Senator Lisa Singh, and also co-CEO of Atlassian, Mike Cannon-Brookes. Recently, Nancy Pelosi visited TSMC in Taiwan, one of the global chip manufacturers. In the Pacific, Telstra has recently acquired Digicel Pacific, sponsored by
Stop, I'm
the
sorry.
Australian government.
I wanted to learn more. We're being brutal with the
Thank
timekeeping. Penelope had a great point. I need some diplomatic skills. Okay, panel, ping pong bat time. Yes or no? Oh, make a choice, Con.
It's sort of.
Oh, okay. Close. So, Con, why a no?
Can I go last?
No.
I kind of agree with everything you've said. I just tend to have two kind of counterpoints. One of them is, generally speaking, with all due respect to anyone working in government here, government tends to be all thumbs and no fingers. And I think that it operates at a different cadence and a different speed and a different level of motive than I think startups and free enterprise. And I think that while they are, often customers, I think it's very different, and we're talking about a very different kind of world if they're necessarily anything more than, say, what we might call a customer relationship. And secondly, chatting to a founder actually only a short time ago of a kind of very, very famous Melbourne unicorn who said, you really don't want government as one of your first 10 clients, because otherwise the whole product market fit kind of goes out the window. And that's why I think that as much as I tend to agree, there's also a lot of, I would suggest that there's probably a big pile of counter arguments there that could be raised.
Thanks for that. We'll move on to Penelope.
Yes, I'm teetering on this as well, but I think it is a trend because it has to be a trend. Although I'm not that comfortable with big organisations really having the final voice in these kind of platforms. But I do think, to support what you're saying, I do think that they can get people to the table. So I think the star quality of some of these superstar tech people at a forum can bring lots of money, can bring funding, can bring people to the destination and actually enable people to come and talk and get things happening and actually move an agenda. But then it actually needs something more than diplomacy to actually get the action happening. So I think that, as you said at the beginning, but it has to be, it can't be a toothless tiger. It has to actually have some crescendo under it. So, the tech companies can be there as long as they're actually going to provide some impetus to actually be there for the journey to support the organisations that they're setting up.
Good points being made. How about you, David?
Yeah, so one of the things that came to mind, and you did mention semiconductors, we couldn't do what we do without them. But there is an organization of semiconductor manufacturers that get together and they think through what are the ways that, where do we see the future going in semiconductors? Because it can take years and billions of dollars to set up their plants. But what has really encouraged me is that they've been thinking about what is going to help make the world a better place, not just what's going to make us a lot of money in the future, but where can we invest in those sort of ultra miniature implantables? How can we make things more biocompatible? And so I think I think that those things can lead to change for good at that interstate sort of between country relationships, and so I think I'm pretty positive.
Oh, so there's opportunity to be had. And Shannon?
I certainly agreed with the points you made, but I'm more of a pessimist on this one. I think we're a little too late. Big tech is already operating as quasi-governments in a transnational fashion, and they're already making the types of decisions that we'd hope to see resolved diplomatically. So content moderation is probably one of the big challenges of our era, deciding what should stay up online and what should go. And in some ways, the governments have largely failed to moderate and contain that trend and to act in diplomatic fashion. And so we have free-roaming tech companies making the decisions which we would hope be part of our democratic fabric.
Are you referring to Cloudflare?
Let's not get started on that one.
Very timely. Vienna, time for rebuttal.
All right, so this is not about the governments taking action. It's about the expressways for cooperation to, being enabled, and that's with the tech companies, giants especially. So this is it is a free enterprise. One key example, the Minister for Digital Transformation in Ukraine called out for help on Twitter. Elon Musk went and sent Starlink, and that's been the lifeline then for the Ukraine, their communications. I'd say watch this space, and it's an area that also needs ethics and responsible innovation because it's a scary trend with the speed that technology is developing at.
Thank you. I don't know which way we're going to vote tonight. Last up to the stage, we have Shannon with a prop. We're getting controversial
for
now.
this one.
Permission granted. 3 minutes of performance. What have you got? Oh, hold up. I've got one job.
Do you want to hold it up?
There we go. Sharing data
I'll have
privately.
my beautiful assistant momentarily. Give me one moment to dispose of this unsightly paperclip. There we go. We ready?
On your marks.
Businesses worldwide are being asked to do magic on their confidential data. Left, right, and center, you see privacy regulation cropping up. What are businesses to do? They can't comply with all of these regulations simultaneously. Well, they could silo their data in every different country and not get those juicy analytics that we know they really want. Or they could do a little magic, perform the data analytics on all the data combined without it ever leaving any of the jurisdictional borders. Sounds impossible? This is the magic of privacy-enhancing technologies. Yes, it's a buzzword, but it's also the word that cryptographers use for a particular set of techniques and tools. You can think of pets in three parts. So firstly, it is computation. It's with other people who you might not trust, other businesses, or potentially other units of your own business if they're in different places, and allows you to compute on data without ever sharing the actual data itself. How does this work? Well, this is pretty confusing, so I'll have my beautiful assistant here hold up the sign. Here we have a Where's Wally. Now, where is Wally? I can prove to you that I know where Wally is without ever giving up his location. So what we're going to do here, we're going to strip away this layer, and I put a hole in the poster here. And now I'm going to put the poster, my little thing over here, and I'll ask you, kind sir, can you see where Wally is?
Oh, yes.
Yes, we can see where Wally is, and this is because I have put the paper carefully behind, and yet I've not revealed his actual location. This is an analogy to how privacy-enhancing technologies work. But are they actually in use anywhere? Can they be useful? Well, I'll give you 3 examples where they are. You're an executive at a company. You have a stock portfolio, and you have to make sure that in a regulated business, you're not in violation of any conflict of interest rules. You can prove to the regulator that your holdings are not in violation of any rules without actually telling them what your holdings are. Sounds magical? That's privacy-enhancing technologies. A consortium of companies wants to know how diverse the industry is without any of the companies admitting that they're actually not hiring a diverse enough crowd. Can they do this? Yes, and without ever admitting how few women or minorities they hire using privacy-enhancing technologies. And number 3, a hospital can train patient-sensitive data, build a machine learning model to improve patient outcomes without ever letting the patient data leave the confines of their highly regulated data center. So this is big. But how big? Well, there's private data in every single sector. So this is not a billion-dollar trend. This is a trillion-dollar trend. And the US government is among the parties taking notice. Just a few weeks ago, they announced an inquiry into privacy-enhancing technologies. For the last decade, pets have been at the forefront of cryptographic and mathematical research. But now is the time for businesses and government to step forward and take this from an amazing research advance to the technology trend of our era. Thank you very much.
And with 2 seconds to spare. Jeez.
How much are you looking to raise?
10 mil.
But also, who else wants to go back to uni and learn some stuff? Let's vote, dear panellists. I just want to say I'm involved with pets because it sounds cool and it lends itself to such great marketing. Oh. So, Con, why?
Yeah, funnily enough, one of my best friends who's in data is just started a startup in exactly this area, and I kind of have seen firsthand some of these opportunities, and I think it's gigantic. I think it's pretty amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have any criticism of it, and I wish I did, but no, I don't. But yeah, I agree. If anything, the only criticism I might have is it's kind of already here, but not really. Yeah.
So Con with no criticism. Yeah. Now, I haven't seen that before. Now we'll move to Penelope.
I do think it's beautifully performed. Well done. I think that it is here. But it's the trend that's going to grow. I think that this is it almost borders on a bit of a dark art, though. So the issue for me on this is that we as a society will get the privacy we demand, and this is where I have a problem in terms of what we will demand, because I'm not sure that people understand enough about the rights that they're giving up or the rights that they can demand, and this is the area in which we are wandering aimlessly. And so this is, I agree that this is a trend, but I'm very nervous about it.
Ooh, this is tricky. David, how about you?
Yeah, when I first started thinking about pets, although I hadn't heard the acronym before, I was talking to someone in the law faculty about how when we get to a point where we can put devices in our brains that can read our thoughts, which I think is not 5 years away, maybe it's not 50 years away. But how do we maintain privacy in that regard? And so the idea there is, well, you'd be able to interact with devices, but you need this system so that you provide the information that's related to what you want, but not the information itself. And so it's good that this is perhaps a bit closer as possible. The one gripe I have, though, is that you talked about the machine learning aspect of with patients, and I think we're a long way from beyond 5 years before the regulators are going to be able to get their heads around the requirements for that.
Great points. Medical AI is an interesting space. Vienna.
First of all, I'd love to understand the tech more. I think it's definitely got a way forward. The question is, how motivated are the participants to use the technologies?
Product market fit. I see what you're doing. We're really assessing you for investment at the moment. Shannon, what are your thoughts?
I'd say firstly, on Vienna's point, that there are many places where this is a win-win. So places where companies can unlock new value that they couldn't before. So healthcare is one example. Let's say the regulators do eventually get to the point where they agree. A company will be able to use this system to do things that would otherwise violate patient privacy and allow them to unlock improved outcomes and better opportunities for their patients without violating their privacy. And to Penelope's point, I totally agree that this technology could be used for goodness and niceness or for evil and badness. In fact, it's already been trialed in a sense to do personalized advertising without actually finding out who the person is. So you still can serve invasive ads, you just don't know to whom you're serving invasive ads. And so this technology can go either way, but I think one thing is for sure is that it's a big trend coming forward.
Oh, thank you all. Gosh, big round of applause. There's an absolute skill at getting these ideas shared within 3 minutes. I think you've all done a great job. Thank you. But while my brain's still spinning, actually, I don't know who I'd vote for. Before we do start voting, I'm going to get our prize sponsor to the stage. Rita Choweri from RSM Australia, you get to come up and say a few words.
Awesome. All right. Did you know that over the past 60 years, if you wanted to predict a future trend, you didn't have to look much further than an episode of our childhood favourite flying car riding family, the Jetsons. Although the Jetsons' video phone may have seemed like a dream to original viewers back in the 60s, fast forward to the 2020s, and now not only do we have such technologies, we've actually been traumatised with the overuse of such technologies, such as Zoom and Teams. So good evening, I'm Rita Choweri, a director of RSM Australia, a multidisciplinary professional services firm. We assist entrepreneurial companies and individuals with financial and business risk services and advice, from startup all the way through to large multinational corporates. I head up the R&D tax incentives team here in Melbourne, and on behalf of RSM Australia, I'll be presenting the award tonight to the winner. So basically, the winner will be the person who delivered the trend that you will vote, that you voted to be the most impactful and explosive. And as we slowly sort of advance towards a Jetson-esque lifestyle, I must say I'm a little excited about the cocktail making machines that Con sort of raised before. But I personally would love to see that contraption the Jetsons used to cook meals, where at the push of a button, they had their meals ready. And so 3D food printers are a thing. However, they're currently limited to research laboratories. And so basically, we're a long way off from a 3D printed meal, a good 3D printed meal. But maybe in 3 to 5 years, hey, I'm just putting my 2 cents worth in.
We'll pull up another chair.
Yeah. A tan ramen at a push of a button, yes, please. Okay, so there's a reason why I bring up the Jetsons today, and that's because today's fun fact is that George Jensen would be just over 1 month old, as he was born on the 31st of July, 2022. So according to the Jetsons writers, we might need to wait another 30 to 40 years for the thrill of flying cars that don't crash, for travelling with jetpacks safely, and to get a Rosie robot in our homes. Okay, and so now, without further delay, we need to, I guess, vote for the win of the Top Tech Trends debate.
We do. So what I'd like you to do, scan the QR code. You'll end up at Slido. Yeah, you can vote for yourselves if you want. But what seems fair is that we give us 3 minutes to do this, since they only got 3 minutes to pitch their idea. So the timer starts. And as a reminder, just briefly, the trends were closer to the couch, fighting for privacy, electroceuticals, diplomacy 4.0, and pets. Also, I didn't start the timer. Can we click on the results and see them as they're coming?
Really?
Oh, live streaming. Oh. There's something awkwardly weird about this. It's quite fabulous.
It's exciting.
Electroceuticals. It is kind of creepy when tech gets invasive. This is great. My dad spent all of lockdown taking photos of QR codes. You've all got this sorted way more. So we've got 1 more minute left of voting. I got the tray. And has Toby run to get the things? Oh, it's close between 1 and 2. I get to see more data than you. Righto, 10 seconds left. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're done. Oh, I'm going to hop out of the way.
Awesome, and the winner is Shannon. Well done. Thank you. Well, there you go.
Thank you. Let me get out of the way so you can have a photo.
There we go.
Do you want to say a few words?
Go Pets.
Round of applause for Shannon.
Thank you so much, Rita. What a great trophy. I'm going to bring Toby up because not only have Starwood provided all of us with a little drink in between, the panellists each get a nice little gift themselves. So Toby can come and deliver those to each of you.
We've got some wonderful whiskey here. Now, you may not like whiskey, but you can re-gift, but I'm sure there's plenty of people who will.
Oh, brilliant. There you go. Thank you very much.
And thanks to Starwood.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Lovely.
Hey.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. We're a little out of practice and we appreciate the effort it takes. You know, sometimes your slippers and your PJs feel a bit more appealing. Huge thank you to the panel. Oh my gosh, pulling those ideas together to pitch in 3 minutes, unreal. Really, thank you. And congratulations. That was great. I think the props thing helped. I like it a lot. I'd also like to thank our sponsors again, VicGov, Diff and Melbourne Connect, as well as RSM with Rita and Starwood. Wouldn't be having the fun we are without them. So thank you, sponsors. There's another whole piece of this puzzle, and it's the Churchill Club Committee, who have worked really hard to bring you tonight's event. The Churchill Club is a non-profit organisation, and this wouldn't happen without people donating their time. And when I say donating their time, what happens is the companies they work for pay them to do work for us. So thank you to their companies for donating their time. We really appreciate it. So Peter Nolly is our chair from Treadstone. Thank you, Peter. Toby Norgate, who presented the whiskey, is our treasurer. He's from Colin Biggers and Paisley. Thanks, Toby. Jennifer George is from Nakudu. Thank you. David Perkins is hiding from Eureka. He's drinking the whiskey. This makes sense now. Nina Mulheisen from 3-6 is in Germany, I think, perhaps. Maybe America. She does great work, but not here tonight. And last but not least, thanks Tech Diversity Lab crew for letting me be here. I'd also like to recognise Amber O'Keefe, who's hiding out in Sydney doing all the background work for us. She's a bit of a star and makes things happen. Thanks, Amber. Before you run away and enjoy the food and drinks, we're going to host a whole heap more events up in the near future. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, come and tell one of us. Everyone else has blue name tags on. That's how you know who to talk to. So give us your ideas about what events you'd like to see. And in line with that, join the club. You pay a membership fee and then you get discounted attendance at all the events, which are heaps of fun, but I might be biased. Anyway, go forth, enjoy the food, enjoy the company, hassle these people to talk about their trends, because why not? And we'll see you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Thanks for having me. I think I did this.
Oh, good.